This week, we got the reveal of Diablo 4's Season 11. No brick tempering, a complete rebuild of how Masterworking works, defenses and potions work completely differently now, and all 4 lesser evils are invading Sanctuary. I sat down with the devs to ask some of the questions you're already typing, including why are they still overhauling core systems 2 years into this game's life. I'll tell you folks what actually changes next week on the test server, what seasonal mechanic you're going to want to chase, and how we're removing one bricking mechanic only to add a new special seasonal one. Then we'll hit Borderlands 4's upcoming performance patch and Halloween event, last Epoch asking for cosmetic feedback and what that signals about monetization, and Path of Exile's new expansion teaser. Hey folks, this is Riker, and I dig into ARPG and gaming news so that you can spend more time playing games. Chapters below to skip ahead to different topics. But before we move on, a quick word from this video's sponsor, Incogni. It feels like every month you hear a new story about a cyber attack or a data breach that results in personal information being leaked. Passwords, email addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers. Trusted institutions like hospitals and universities getting hacked, insurance providers, cloud storage hosts. Just think about all the different companies you've given your personal information to and where that information can end up if it somehow gets leaked. Thousands of companies are collecting, aggregating, and trading your personal data. You have the right to demand that a data broker deletes whatever personal info they may have about you. But tracking down and contacting all those companies is time and hassle. That's where Incogni comes in. It's a service that seeks to protect you by reaching out to data brokers on your behalf, requests your data to be removed, and deals with any pushback they get. And you'd be surprised at how much of your personal info may be out there. Your full name, employment history, home address, even your relatives. With Incogni, you can at least feel like someone is fighting back to keep you safe. Here's my dashboard. You can see that I have 6 requests left in progress, and 170 have been completed. Incogni has also added a family plan that lets you extend your coverage to up to 4 additional members, as well as an unlimited plan, which introduces Incogni's custom removals feature. With that, you can point to any website where your personal info is visible, and one of Incogni's privacy agents will take care of the rest. So go to incogni.com/Riker and use code Riker to get an exclusive offer of 60% off. Incogni helps erase you from the internet. They can't steal your identity if they can't find you. Click the link below to claim your 60% off and take your personal data off the market. Starting off with Diablo 4 news, we had this week the reveal of Season 11 and the big patch coming along with it. I hosted a Sanctuary sit-down with the devs where we went over all the major changes and season theme, and we had an extensive interview. I'll go over now in this video all the major points of what we can expect from the test server going live next Tuesday, but I still encourage you folks to check out the interview at some point. It's very long. You can watch it on double speed or parcel it out over a few days, because if you're going to ask, why are we still changing major game system 2 years after launch, or, other pretty deep cut questions, I literally asked them that and other questions, and I think you do want to hear their answers. But now we'll give a recap of the info on what the season brings, what all the changes are. First off, tempering, no more bricking. Thank goodness, you now get to pick exactly which tempered affix you want, and then it just rolls on a range. You will be limited, though, to just 1 tempered affix now, but non-unique items will now have 4 base affixes instead of 3. So overall, we are not getting fewer affixes. So I'm fine with this, because on a lot of items, the second temper affix is kind of crap anyway. So I would rather just have another base affix. Then Masterworking is getting completely reworked into a system where you upgrade an item's quality in discrete steps until it reaches 20% quality. And quality increases an item's base affix. So armor for armor, resistance for jewelry, and damage for weapons. So once you've maxed out the quality of a weapon, for instance, that weapon now deals 20% more damage. Once an item is at 20% quality, then you can do one final upgrade. This is a capstone bonus, which will randomly upgrade one of the item's affixes into a greater affix. And if you're not happy with the result, for a cost, you can re-roll this capstone, and it doesn't reset the item's quality. Then, as a season-only mechanic, they're adding a crafting mechanic called Sanctification. Basically, you're going to get a consumable resource that you use to slam an item. It's going to modify it unpredictably, and it's going to then lock it from any further crafting. So this is something you do to finalize an item once you're done tempering and enchanting and masterworking and all that. And sanctifying has a variety of different outcomes, like turning an affix into a greater affix, adding a bonus affix, replacing an affix with another random affix, or, like, the best result seems to be applying a bonus legendary power. Now, the outcomes here are so incredibly random that it seems like you're more likely to ruin the item than not ruin it. And a lot of people are pointing out that they've just removed bricking via tempering, and they're now re-adding bricking via sanctification. And yeah, that's basically it. But again, sanctification is season only, and it seems like it's intended really to be just that risk-reward slam mechanic. In my opinion, I would only use this on gear that I don't care about too much. Like, either because I have a backup piece of gear, or because, like, I'm not, on my end game best gear yet. Just because, again, the odds of bricking seem far more likely than the odds of getting something good. Then they're also making big changes to monster combat. They're improving AI, they're making champions and elites much more difficult but less common. So, like, right now we just kind of mow through everything. With these changes, the way they put it is, it's going to make us kind of have to sit up in our seats and actually, I got to pay attention a bit now. They're adding over 20 new possible affixes that these elites can spawn with. So altogether, the design intent seems to be for more engaging combat and affixes that you have to react more to, rather than just things like, okay, well, monsters deal more damage and they have more life, so they take longer to kill. In fact, I think they said that raw monster damage is actually dropping. So it's really about ramping up the difficulty with regards to how intelligent they are and the myriad affixes that you have to dodge and evade and play around. And this comes along with a massive rework to player defenses and healing. So we're being limited now to only 4 potions, but potions will now be also slowly replenishing on their own, once per 30 seconds. That's on top of still, I presume they still drop, that you can pick them up that way. The intent is just that previously, if you run out of potions, you're just screwed. Now, if you can survive for 30 seconds, you can get a potion charge back. And this is all part of an effort to make sustain be something that we build towards. Because right now, all we care about in D4 is damage and survivability, but not sustain. That is like the ability to heal. So they're bringing back life on hit, but it won't be overpowered because it's going to have an internal cooldown now. So you're not like hitting 10 monsters at once and basically instantly going back to max life. You can only do it once every, a couple times a second or something. Then Fortify is being completely redesigned. Instead of giving you damage reduction, Fortify will now act as a special reserve health pool. So when you take damage, if you have anything in your Fortify pool, then the life is going to slowly flow out of your Fortify pool, out of your Fortify reserve, to heal you slowly over time, acting as a source of sustain. But then the biggest change, armor and resistances are turning back into rating systems with no caps. So instead of like, I have, 70% fire resist, it's going to be, I have 6,832 fire resist. And that reduces my fire damage by 87.3%. I was initially not a fan of this at all, because I really liked the max 1,000 armor and the percentage-based resistances, like the Diablo 2 style. But in my interview, I asked them, because we went through this big overhaul where we changed to this system of 1,000 armor cap and the resistances, and everyone liked that. So it's like, why are we now undoing this thing that everyone liked? And the answer they gave actually convinced me to give them the benefit of the doubt and see how it feels in practice next week on the test server. So also with this patch now, armor will apply to all damage. So it's going to reduce all sources of damage, not just physical. And they are also adding physical resistance as a separate resistance. So you can always stack more armor, you can always stack more resistance. There is no cap, it's just that the higher your number gets, the closer you reach to 100% reduced damage, but you can never reach 100% reduced damage. So presumably build guides are going to recommend like get at least, 6,000 armor and, but whatever the numbers end up being, there'll be some recommendation where it's not worth going above this. And overall, they're heavily reducing conditional sources of damage reduction. They didn't like how A build could either be totally fine or die to one hit, depending on whether the right circumstances are lining up to give you all your myriad damage reduction modifiers. And they really want like armor and resistance to be our main consistent sources of damage reduction. And they still do want to keep damage reduction in the game, but they want it to be something more rare and precious when we get it. And altogether, this should help even out builds in high-level play. Because like right now, you have some builds that are absolute glass cannons and other builds that are almost unkillable, and it's really all based on how many sources of damage reduction you can stack, since at endgame, everyone can easily max out their armor and resistances, so it just becomes a game about who's got the most sources of damage reduction. Then the Season 11 theme sees an invasion of the 4 lesser evils, Andariel, Duriel, Belial, all led by none other than Azmodan, returning from Diablo 3 as the first new world boss in Diablo 4. That's going to be friggin' awesome. Each of the 4 evils is taking over one of the game's activities, so Azmodan, world boss. Duriel taking over Helltide, he's replacing the Blood Maiden, just for this season though. And Dariel is taking over the Kurast Undercity, sometimes you're going to get her as an Undercity boss. Belial is taking over the Pit, sometimes you'll fight him as a pit boss, and there's going to be other monsters and stuff theming these activities to their respective evils, and each will have their own kind of special drops and stuff. Now, Azmodan will permanently be a world boss as part of the regular rotation, but in addition to that, just for Season 11, you'll be able to summon Azmodan in a public place where he can get juiced with the powers of one of the lesser evils of your choice, which is going to add like waves of enemies to fight and some of the mechanics of that lesser evil. And the main chase of this theme, apart from the resources that you're going to get to sanctify items, will be something called divine gifts. Each evil can drop 2 divine gifts, and we can level up these divine gifts, and these divine gifts will buff the reward of a certain activity in a certain way. Like, you can make Helltide drop XP globes, or you can make the Pit drop a bunch of gold, or you can make the Undercity drop obols. And you can level up your divine gifts to max out these effects. So overall, it's like you're juicing your activities. You're investing into like doing Helltide, and the more I do Helltide, the more rewarding Helltide becomes, and you can further customize the reward that you get from an activity. So this allows you to kind of mix and match. It's like, well, you know, previously if I wanted to get obols, I couldn't do Undercity, but I really like to do Undercity, so now I can get obols while doing Undercity. Now, the thing with these divine gifts, you have to equip a divine gift in order to use it. There are 8 divine gifts, and there are 8 slots for them, so you could equip them all, but 4 slots are purified slots, and 4 slots are corrupted slots. Each divine gift has a purified modifier associated with it, which gives you some kind of defensive or utility buff. It's not some kind of a flashy season power, it's really just something that's kind of operating behind the scenes. And then there's also a corrupted modifier, which will increase difficulty in some interesting way, like maggots will sometimes spawn on you eating your health potions, or you're always vulnerable while fighting world bosses. So it's your choice to equip these or not. You can safely equip 4 of these into the purified slots, right? They're going to buff your rewards. But if you want even more rewards, then you got to put them into the corrupted slots, therefore increasing the challenge of the gameplay that you're going to face. So again, it's really a way to juice our content, kind of like the profane mind cages we had from several seasons ago. It's just like 100 times more interesting than profane mind cages, which simply made number go up. Then we're getting the introduction of the Tower, which is a variant of the Pit that has a leaderboard associated with it. Each tower level has 4 floors instead of the 2 floors that the Pit has. It also has 4 pylons in it. There's always going to be 4 pylons spawned throughout the tower. 3 specific pylons, each giving a different buff, and then the 4th pylon is a random repeat of one of the other 3 pylons. The devs were really channeling Diablo 3 Greater Rifts with these, and it seems they want to allow the same kind of tactics that we saw in Diablo 3 Greater Rift pushing, and these are tactics that we just don't see in Pit pushing in Diablo 4. The Tower is entering the game in a beta state, but in the future they would like to add rewards associated with it. And just to be clear, the Tower is not something that is intended for farming. It's not replacing the Pit. It's really just something to see how far you can push, either as a personal achievement or to compete with other people to see if you can best the last Pit level that you did. Then another massive change, they are removing renown from season. It'll still be there on Eternal, but in seasons, it's being replaced by season rank, which is like a combination of renown and the season journey. It's replacing both of those things. So you're no longer going to start level 1 with like 14 skill points and all that stuff that renown gave you. They're not removing those skill points. It's just that now you're going to have to earn those skill points and those paragon points by completing specific objectives, like defeating a world boss or completing a capstone dungeon. Yes, capstone dungeons are returning. There's going to be 5 of them, and they will have fixed difficulties. They're not scaling. So that means basically if, you're having trouble, well, you can just level up a few times, come back, and should be easier now. Also means you can try to take them on while you're underleveled and unlock their rewards sooner. And it sounds like the capstone dungeons will be the only goal you need to unlock the next phase of your season rank. So every season rank is going to come with a ton of objectives, more than we actually see in the season journey. But instead of having to complete like 5 out of 8 or whatever, it's literally just do the capstone and you unlock the next one. You can still do the rest of the objectives just to get the rewards, but to unlock the next rank, all you got to do is the capstone. Now, a lot of these changes are pretty significant, and it can be difficult to truly understand how it's all going to play out. So again, you can check out the interview for more context on how these changes are intended to alter the experience. And also, folks, wait to try things out on the test server next week. We'll see what this all actually feels like. Oh, also, each class is getting 1 new unique item. Some of them are pretty cool, mechanically. There's a sorcerer item that's going to give you buffs based on how many defensive skills you don't equip. Then there's a barbarian item that makes any brawling skill you use go on permanent cooldown until you have used every brawling skill on your hotbar, and therefore you've put them all on permanent cooldown, at which point they all become available again. So that means if you just have 1 brawling skill, it has no cooldown, right? Because you can just spam it. Otherwise, you kind of make a piano setup where you want to hit all the skills in a specific order, because your brawling skills also get a damage buff per brawling skill currently on cooldown. So you want to make sure that the last brawling skill that you hit is the one that's going to be the big damage dealer. Then in the patch notes, we can see that the mythic unique, the Melted Heart of Selig, which has largely been considered a piece of crap for ages now, is basically being turned into Mana Shield, the super popular sorcerer power from Season 10. With the revised Melted Heart of Selig, each point in your primary stat increases your primary resource by 3%, but you have 75% reduced life. Any damage you would take is dealt to your primary resource before your life, and if you've not taken damage in 6 seconds, your resource regenerates to full over 3 seconds. Mana Shield has been super popular. This is a great way to bring it into the base game while also reworking a bad mythic. But then the Sorcerer Teleport enchantment is getting hit with a nerf. Previously, it had a 17-second cooldown that you could reduce to the point that you can spam teleport all over the place. That's being changed now into a 5-second cooldown that cannot be reduced in any way. So a lot of Sorcerer players are pretty unhappy about this, knowing they will no longer be able to just spam teleport. So overall, we're getting a mix of reworked systems and new content. This is a very beefy season, definitely on par with Season 4 with regards to reworks, while also delivering a pretty hefty season theme that is not just a repeat of powers. And because so much is changing, the devs really want us to test things out on the test server next week and give them feedback. But what are your preliminary thoughts, folks? What do you like? What are you concerned about? I'll definitely be playing on the test server to see how all these changes feel in practice. Moving on to Borderlands 4 news, the Day 30 patch has been delayed to early next week. This is the one that will include balance adjustments, performance and stability improvements, huge, as well as some quality of life features. The team wanted to take a few more days to make the patch better. And with it being the first major performance patch, this one will be really important. Honestly, should have already come by now, because performance is possibly the biggest factor bringing down Borderlands 4's reviews. It's a shame that it's reviewing poorly. It's sitting at mixed on Steam and a player rating of 60 out of 100 on OpenCritic. I think the game is really fun. I think it's great. But it's apparently not selling very well because it's already gone on sale, 20% off just a month after launch. I personally know people who are holding off on buying because they've heard about the bad performance, bad optimization. Then, Borderlands 3 wasn't that well received, so I think that already made a lot of people hesitant to buy Borderlands 4. And the Borderlands movie didn't do it any favors either. Now, Borderlands 3 sold 5 million copies in 5 days, while it was an Epic Games Store PC exclusive. Borderlands 4 had 2.5 million players across all platforms within roughly the same amount of time. And according to Randy Pitchford, the CEO of developer Gearbox, Borderlands 4 cost more than twice to make as Borderlands 3. So, costs more than twice as much, has sold less than half in the same amount of time, while not being restricted platform-wise. Again, I think it's a shame. I think the game is great. A lot of players who don't have performance issues seem to really like the game. There's a Halloween event coming out, Horrors of Kairos. It launches on October 23rd and it runs until November 6th. There will be limited time items and cosmetics to farm, and there's going to be some spooky weather effects mixed into things, like it's going to be raining blood. Then in Last Epoch news, the devs are seeking feedback from the community on cosmetics. So if you are a Last Epoch player, do go ahead and provide that feedback in their forum post, link in the description. They want to ensure that the cosmetics they make feel meaningful, fair, and exciting. So they're asking, which items do you feel offer the best value or appeal, and why? Are there specific themes, styles, or item types that you'd like to see more or less of? Are there any items you've avoided purchasing, and if so, what influenced that decision? As a reminder, this all comes off the back of Last Epoch having announced an expansion that the devs have yet to establish will be a free update or paid content. And this is after admitting that the 3 seasons that they have released since launch have not turned a profit. Since the only monetization that they have outside of the base game purchase is cosmetics, it stands to reason that they are not making enough money on cosmetics to turn a profit. And I bet that they would rather find a way to make cosmetics profitable than have to charge for an expansion. Now, I have to admit that I have not spent money on cosmetics in Last Epoch, and I doubt I ever will. I'm not sure why. I do sometimes buy cosmetics in other games, but for whatever reason, I just don't care to dress up my character in Last Epoch. I'm just there for the love of the gameplay and the game systems. I would absolutely pay for an expansion pack. For more content in the game, yeah. Without thinking twice about it, instant buy, I know I'm going to get my money's worth. But I understand that the devs kind of made promises to Kickstarter backers that after launch, it would be a cosmetic-only model, all content would be free, and they really do want to stick with that if it's possible. So I really think they're trying, they're doing their best to figure out a way to make cosmetics work. So again, folks, if there's any feedback you can give them in that regard, help them out. Then in Path of Exile news, we got the announcement teaser for the upcoming expansion, which is titled Keepers of the Flame. On October 23rd, we'll get the full reveal of the expansion at 12 p.m. PDT, and the expansion itself launches on the 31st. We have scant details for now, but we know that we will wield the flame and fight back against an invasion of Hiveborn, which seem vaguely like some kind of Zerg creatures, possibly, maybe. We're also seeing a purple theme and hens, so this could be related to Breach? But what do you folks think? Sound off in the comments with your theories. We also learned that mercenaries will not be going core right away, which is expected. They definitely are too strong right now. The devs say they really love the mercenaries mechanic and they intend to add it into the game in the future, but they need time to rebalance and adjust them. Now folks, do be sure to have seen last week's video in which we discussed why people are loving Diablo 4 Season 10. Because that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.